Are you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to HammerCast.
Hey, welcome back to the HammerCast. I am your host, Kenneth Smith, a.k.a. HammerConda, and I am joined again today by my good friends and partners, Chad Taylor and David Stidham. And we also have our director of Devy and scouting, Mr. Kevin Coleman himself. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. Ready to do this thing.
Good. I like David has set up our executive suite. He's got our
I got the conference room going. We're going to, start meeting in here someday. It looks like, as Kevin would say, it looked like Cliff Kingsbury designed it.
That's hilarious. That's right. Yeah, prop up your loafers and
team sex.
So anyway, guys, we got a good show for you today. Does anybody want to talk about what they're drinking on before we get started?
Sure. I got something new.
What?
Well,
to you.
I am actually off the bourbon tonight, and I'm doing some Belvedere vodka.
Belvedere.
And mixing it up with a little bit of San Pellegrino limonata.
What is San Pellegrino?
San Pellegrino. It's like a sparkling soda from Italy.
Yeah.
Something
Fancy man.
soda from Italy and Belvedere.
Pinky up, boys.
I'm gonna go the other route then. I'm gonna do a Texas original here. I have the Shiner Bock.
Ooh, I like Shiner Bock.
Ain't nothing finer than a Shiner. So that's what I'll be having tonight.
He's writing taglines.
Yep. I think Goddard ought to roll with that one. Nothing finer than a Shiner.
Oh my God.
Too soon. Kevin, what do you got, Bubba? You got a Sierra Nevada?
I failed the brand. I'm just drinking water tonight. My stomach's not doing too good, so I'm going to be living through you guys tonight. So take a couple shots.
Well, our audience's stomachs may not be doing too good after they hear your Mount Rushmore.
Let's hear it.
I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not drinking tonight yet. I've got Diet Mountain Dew so far, but I've always got my backups. So tonight, guys, what we're going to talk about is Kevin has written a really cool article on the Mount Rushmore of running backs. And then, so he's going to give us who his four running backs are that he would like to start a dynasty league with, for example, somebody that he would want for the next 3 years. So Kevin, why don't you just kind of jump into what you've already done, and then we'll just kind of hang out here and chit chat about it and see what you got.
Yeah, right. And at the end, we're going to probably go over ours too.
Yeah, we'll go over ours, and then what we're also going to do after that, we're going to talk about our Devy draft, guys. Which, if you don't know what Devy is, it's in my opinion, the next big thing in fantasy football. We'll get into all that, but yeah, take her away, Kevin.
Yeah, so, I came up with the idea of just writing Dynasty, who would you want to start for your cornerstone of Dynasty leagues? And I know not everybody's into Dynasty, but it's challenging to do because you got to really, okay, who can I build my team around? How am I going to do it? Running backs, especially with this group, the running back heavy guys here. So I know that they love their running backs. So, for me, I was looking at it from a PPR perspective because that's pretty much all I play in. And then, okay, who would be the guy? So, my first running back was CMC, Christian McCaffrey. That's pretty chalk, I know. But if you look at the numbers, even then he had 471 total points last year in a PPR league, one PPR league, which put him just at second place all time behind LaDainian Tomlinson. And he was 9 points away from getting the first overall. So he had LT and back in 2006, he had 481 points, which was an amazing year. So CMC was right there. A crazy stat that I saw when I was researching it was 50% of teams in the ESPN leagues had CMC on their roster in the championship game. So 50% of the teams that had him made the championship. So if you had him last year and you didn't make the championship, then you're not a very good fantasy football player. Or something just happened. You should have at least made it pretty close. So for him, I picked him because just his numbers, and also the next closest guy to him from his 471 was Aaron Jones at 314. So legitimately, he was about 19.7 points per game, Aaron Jones. So he was 10 points better, a touchdown, almost 2 touchdowns better than the next closest running back. And those numbers are just absurd. When you look at him, you just realize how good of a player he is. And then he's reliable. And a lot of guys, you're looking at injuries and stuff. He hasn't missed a game in his career. In the last 2 years, he played all 16. And so when you're looking at that, he's on the field about 93% of the time last year. So he's always on the field. And and it doesn't seem to be able to change this year. They didn't really have a backup running back. They haven't really gotten a backup running back. They got Bonifon or whatever, but he's not really anything to worry about. And so he actually broke the record last year for most targets in the receiving game. He had 142. So
man,
just massive amount of targets. So he came out to almost 9 targets a game he got in the receiving game. On top of his rushing ability. So when you look at those numbers, he finished with almost 2,400 yards from scrimmage. So it's just insane, 19 touchdowns and 403 touches. So when you're looking at those things, and because he's been reliable, I don't see it really hurting him. And I don't see the new coach and the new system being a problem for them. We saw what Joe Brady did at LSU last year. And we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that offense. And so if you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is any good, wait till he gets CMC on his roster and he gets to play with him around there. From most of my stuff that I looked up, they're going to run 3 basic sets where they're going to actually split CMC on the outside and get him in a lot of mismatches. And with DJ Moore on the outside, with him off on the weak side, he's going to get single covered by a lot of outside linebackers. And there's not a lot of outside linebackers in this league that's going to be able to stand up to CMC in the coverage. And he just everything I looked when I was watching Joe Brady's offense, everything's about mismatches, and they've actually talked about putting him at receiver more. So he might even break his record for targets this year, just being in that new offense. And he's going to have a better quarterback than he did last year with Kyle Allen. So you could see more. You're going to see maybe better production. And I think we get kind of lazy sometimes in the fantasy community. Like, well, of course he's going to regress. Well, that's a shitty take sometimes because, maybe he actually – that's his base. And that would be amazing.
Can you imagine?
If that could be something that he can produce for the next 2 years, that's the team. That's the guy you want. Right?
Well, you look at – you compared him to Tomlinson, and in his heyday, that was what it was, right? He was producing year over year crazy numbers. And if he can replicate that, amazing. Because – you would think it has to regress, right? It's just that's such a historical season, but you make really, really good points about the system and the quarterback change and new OC. There's a lot of reasons why it might not.
Yeah, I agree with almost everything he says. The only thing that it gives me a little bit of a pause is that now I'm not calling Byron Leftwich a world beater, but he is going to be a lot better than a rookie Kyle Allen. Okay, and he's going to have a better coordinator.
Whoa, Byron Leftwich.
Not Byron Leftwich, I'm sorry.
I was like,
how early you start drinking today? There,
jeez.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Hey, what's in that funny Italian water you're drinking there, bud?
Yeah.
Wow.
He drank it all the way from Italy. He had to go
anyway. But the only thing that gives me pause is because he is a better quarterback. He'll have a better control, a better command of the passing game. We saw CMC get a lot of dump offs because that was just the best option. It was the only thing that quarterback could handle. And don't get me wrong, I still see that as a definite range of outcome for him again, even with Bridgewater. And so sky's the limit. I think he very well could have a better season, and that would be just phenomenal. But I do believe DJ Moore is going to lead the team in targets this year, and so that's just me. But I'm all in with CMC for that reason too.
Yeah, I made a point, and I can't remember if it was a tweet or what it was, but it was something to the effect of everybody just assumes that people are going to regress. These great producers, everybody just assumes they're going to regress. you know what? Maybe they won't. Or maybe if they do, it's just a little bit. I mean, we assume that Aaron Jones is going to regress, you know.
But you know, what was it? Aaron Jones, even if he regresses 20%, he's still a top 6 back.
Yeah, that was my point, basically, is let's just don't fade him so far. Yeah, not that anybody's fading CMC, but anyway, good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then one thing I would say, too, about with Teddy, I mean, you like Teddy Bridgewater, I think, a lot more than I do. But he's still – they use a lot of RPOs in Matt Rule's offensive system at Baylor and stuff. And I don't know what Brady and Matt Rule, I don't know how that's going to work out. But the RPO stuff, he likes to do that on like third and medium. He talked about in a pretty good article. He was talking about his offensive system because he felt like that running backs can get bigger gains and stuff in third and medium when the defense thinks they're going to throw in the RPOs. And that's where he sees it. So I think CMC could actually benefit from that, and maybe more will not benefit for. I don't know. It just kind of depends on what their offensive stuff is. But I think the RPOs is a good one. To watch.
And I agree with you. And Jacob Greider, one of our writers, he actually did a whole write-up on Joe Brady and his system, and he looked at how he utilized Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he surmised that he could have a bigger year. I mean, this could be a bigger opportunity for CMC. And so, he's a clear-cut number 1. But I'm anxious to hear you talk about your number 2.
Yeah, so my next guy is, Saquon Barkley. He's going to be – I think those 2 guys are your top 2. If you're passing on those guys, you just, go play fantasy baseball. But so those two guys are your guys. Some people argue Barkley's going to have a better year than CMC. I know some people think that he will. I think it's possible those 2 are very close this year. Barkley got injured last year, never really looked like himself. He had that high ankle sprain. He came back like superhuman in 3 weeks or something like that, 4 weeks, and he just wasn't necessarily the same yet. The biggest thing that I like about Barkley is that he's going to play. They have a new offensive line coach, my boy Mark Colombo from Dallas. So, and he's been in charge of that line in Dallas for the last few years, and he turned him into the number 1 of the top 3 offensive lines. So they're going to have him. Pro Football Focus ranked him at 17th last year. They selected Andrew Thomas, so they got a big left tackle. They're going to improve on that offensive line. And with Will Hernandez and those guys, you could see an offensive line that gets in that top 10 behind Saquon Barkley, which is going to be fantastic for him. And then I think the biggest thing we got to talk about, as much as I don't like Jason Garrett as a head coach, he's a pretty damn good offensive coordinator. And I'm not going to go through the whole chart, but I would recommend going and looking at the chart. I went through every top running back on his team from 2007 to 2019. And I went through all the touches that guys got, from Marion Barber. DeMarco Murray had his career year that year. He had 1,800 yards rushing when Jason Garrett was his offensive guy.
That was huge. I remember that.
Yeah, massive year. And then if you look at even Darren McFadden pulled out 1,000-yard rushing under Garrett's stuff. So, and then if you look at Zeke, he averaged in about 350 touches during the year in the last 4 years. I mean, and I as much as I love Zeke, Barkley is a talent. Like, if he can get 350 to 400 touches a year, that's a massive increase for what he has. And when I looked, the best stat I think I had was Dallas ranked 1st, 5th, 10th, and 8th in rushing attempts, while also being second, 10th, and 5th in rushing yards over Garrett's last 4 seasons. So they're going to run the ball. They got Colombo now to utilize that line and get them in there. And I think Daniel Jones is going to be better this year. I don't think he'll be amazing, but I think he's going to be serviceable to where they're going to get him involved, and all those things are going to lead Barkley, as long as he stays healthy, to be – I think he'll be either number 1 or number 2 back this year in PPR formats.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have much to add to that. Saquon Barkley is a freak.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually put a tweet up the other day, not putting a flag in the ground, but basically saying, hey, it could happen. I mean, what he did in his rookie year, the amount of targets, don't forget, he had 90 catches his rookie year, and he just went hog wild. And in last year, you know what happened. If he has the same type of season that he had as a rookie year with the improvements that they already made, I very well could see, with a little potential regression on CMC, it'd be in a really tight race. And but you're right. Clearly, they're both the best 1-2, 1-2,
Yeah,
2-1.
you're taking whoever is who's there.
And his point, if you're taking anybody other, including a quarterback, if you're taking Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, or anybody in front of those two guys, then you know what? Honestly, you know what? That's our opinion, but you know, a lot of people have different strategies, and I just happen to feel like those are the clear-cut two guys you need. And you know what? Most people do.
Yeah, I think that's fairly understood.
And you know what? You're an idiot if you don't.
The one thing I want to point out, and this is what I think makes Kevin's writing so awesome, is that, you know, you'll hear people talk about, it's CMC and it's Saquon, and, you know, they don't really provide context around that. You know, I think the two tidbits that he just put out there that are really valuable for people that are really trying to understand this at a deeper level. One is Garrett's proficiency as offensive coordinator. He's got such a bad brand in NFL coaching after, you know, what he did with the Cowboys. But he's exactly right. You go back and look at what he produced as offensive coordinator, it's hard to argue with that. And the other thing is Colombo. And having Colombo take the reins of that offensive line is going to be a differentiator. Like that, they will get better, even without an addition. I think.
And having a healthy Evan Ingram. You know, there's a lot of factors here that are setting them up for a really good year. But to your point, Chad, and I agree, guys, go to HammerCast.com. Look at the article Kevin wrote. The Mount Rushmore running back,
and the quarterback one too. He's got a good quarterback.
The quarterback, and we, you know what, we need to do a show on that too. But I will tell you, if you look at the article, he breaks it down and he gives you so many points of depth that you need to look at and read to understand exactly, you know, what it'll help you make a good decision.
Yep.
It actually might confuse you. You're going to know which one to take.
Well, you know.
Well, here's where the rubber meets the road. Let's go with number 3.
Yeah, so number 3, I'm sure is going to piss some people off, but I don't care. So my guy, Joe Mixon, I've been drafting Joe Mixon for the last couple of years based on his Oklahoma tape. I really liked him when I watched him in college, and I scouted him a lot. And for those of you who don't know, I don't know if you watch college football or know the stats. I mean, his sophomore season in Oklahoma, he had over 1,200 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns to go along with over 500 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns.
And how many indictments?
Hey,
I was gonna say, was that which tape? Was that the one in the bar?
That was the yeah. Well, we don't talk. He's grown up, just like my guy.
Yeah, I agree.
They both.
I know. I couldn't resist.
But so when I was looking at it, I was trying to put in perspective. Okay, these are guys that you want, and Mixon is a guy that you can get later, maybe in the second round if your league is dumb, and you could get that. You can kind of sneak in there and get a top back, and I think he has a lot of things going for him. Number one. And I did it in the article, you could see it. There's some splits that happen. So when they played before in their bye week, head coach Zach Taylor realized that something was not right. So he knew that they couldn't get their scheme together. Their offensive line coach Jim Turner, who's been around forever, they got together and said, okay, what can we do to fix this? So they actually did a pin and pull concept. They changed their entire rushing scheme in that bye week to help mix in and help everybody there because their line was so terrible. So what they did was now they put their linemen in a pin and pull, kind of to where they can get Mixon on the outside where he does well in space. And they weren't doing that in that first 8 weeks. So when you look at his splits, so after they did the new scheme for offensive line, weeks 1 through 8, he had 101 attempts, 320 yards, and no touchdowns. In weeks 10 to 17, he had 177 attempts, 817 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So they figured something out in terms of their scheme. And remember, they had Ryan Finley playing quarterback for a couple games in that time frame. So it's not like they had anybody back there that could throw the ball. They're going to get back Jonah Williams, their big tackle. He got hurt, so he's coming back. They figured out their offensive line where they're going to be. They finally figured out a system. They're just going to improve their offense. And so when you get Boyd, you're going to get John Ross, AJ Green, hopefully if he can stay healthy. I think Joe Burrow is going to be a great quarterback in the league. I think he can do it. And he's going to put pressure on defenses now. They can't stack that box. So not only are you going to have a better offensive scheme rushing the ball, now you're also going to have a better offense around him that's getting underrated, I believe. And so now Mixon's going to have less guys in the box, a better scheme. I could see him blowing up this season. I really can. I mean, I know there's other guys, but if I'm picking between him or Miles Sanders, I'm taking Joe Mixon all day.
So based on this theory, just hear me out. You're in a dynasty league, and you're at pick 6. Zeke is gone. No, Zeke is there. You're at pick 6. You got your choice between Zeke, Kamara, and Mixon. You're taking Mixon.
I mean, if it's a dynasty league, and if I'm looking at it from that perspective, and before anybody gets mad, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. So leaving Zeke off this list hurt me. It still hurts me. Like,
Hey, Kevin, what's your Twitter handle?
At @theboys_22. So I'm a big Cowboy guy. Emmitt Smith.
That's why in the hypothetical I threw Zeke in there. But honestly, at 6, he's not going to be there. But yeah.
But I mean, if he's there, I mean, yeah, sure, you'd probably have to pause and you'd really have to do it. But when I look at Zeke, and I know you guys are going to mention him a little bit, he's like we said, he's run the ball a ton, and he's got a lot of wear. And I don't know, he's only 20. What is he? 25.
25.
Yeah. So I know he's got a couple years left, but I'm looking at Mixon, who's younger, doesn't have as much wear. He's going to be in a great offensive system next 3 to 4 years. And in PPR, I think he is undervalued as a receiver. He hasn't shown it, but in that system with Burrow now, like we talked about with Joe Brady, he likes to get his running backs the ball as well. So for me, with the competition in Dallas compared to maybe the competition he's going to see in Cincinnati, I would rather, in terms of targets, I'd probably rather go with Mixon. And Kamara, who knows what Kamara is? He had a pretty down year last year. I know he was injured. He's on a contract year. You don't know necessarily if he's going to maybe be in New Orleans. He might stay there. Breeze is out the door. So from a dynasty perspective, I'm looking at it, okay, he's got a good situation, so I'm going to roll with him. And really, when you play dynasty, sometimes you got to take some chances to
I love it.
extend yourself.
I love the take. I love the boldness, and I mean, it's strong, and that's the way we go here. And so, you know what? You put the argument together, and you made a believer out of me. I'm not saying I'm going to take him over Zeke, but I definitely like. I drafted Mixon last week in the second round, and I was smiling all the way.
Well, the thing is, if you had the 3rd pick, you know that Mixon, in theory, will be gone by your next pick, right?
Yeah.
So you would have, if you wanted Mixon over Zeke, you'd have to take him at number 3.
Yeah, that or trade down. And so I've done that before too. And so I've traded out of the top 5 to get a guy that I wanted at the turn. And so it's there's a lot of options when you're in dynasty drafts. And so, yeah. But I'm anxious to hear what the people think about this. And here's the exciting part is I already know what the answer is. We're going to go to the 4th bust on the Mount Rushmore mountain.
As in bust, as in
No, not a bust, but the 4th person on the Mount Rushmore.
The 4th bust? Kevin is
the 4th head on the Mount Rushmore. Let's hear it.
I've been on this train for a while, and I'm going to stay on it. I mean, J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State is my 4th guy. And I know you got the Taylor guys out there. You got the Clyde Edwards-Helaire guys out there.
Taylor guys are in here.
You got the Akers guys out there, and in Swift, like you got a couple of them somewhere. But I really feel like Dobbins, to me, when I watch his, and again, I'm a tape guy. So again, I know people say they hate film guys, but when I watch his film, there's something about him when I watch him play football, and he just explodes through the line. He's a runner, and he fell into one of the best situations I think that you could have fallen into. I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire fell into the Chiefs, but when you look at it from a scheme perspective, I love Dobbins' offensive scheme he fell into. I don't worry about Ingram because Ingram is done after this year. I really firmly believe that. After this year, he has a $1.2 million dead cap, so that's nothing. So if he shows that he couldn't stay healthy again, I actually think Dobbins is going to get more carries than people think. Last year they gave like 198 carries to Edwards and Justice Hill, and there's no reason why they should be giving those carries to anybody else but Dobbins this year. And their own GM said they drafted him they drafted him for a 3-down back. So he's going to be on the field. They're going to get him on the field. I mean, in college, he broke Eddie George's records, Zeke's records at Ohio State. This kid produces at a high level. He had over 4,400 yards rushing, 645 yards receiving in his career, 9.1 yards per reception as a receiver. So he does that. And I know there's some naysayers about, well, of course he did. He had Ohio State's line. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the Ravens line is going to be a lot better. And they are, according to Pro Football Focus, they're one of the top 5 lines in the NFL. So if you say it's just a line perspective, okay, well, he's still going to have one of the best lines in the NFL when he's running behind. With Lamar Jackson, those guys, with their option, the read option, I feel like he has the best shot out of those rookie running backs to be with the dynasty guy that you want to own. I know Taylor's great. I worry about Wisconsin running backs, though. There's something about Wisconsin running backs that I get worried about, like Ohio State quarterbacks. The scheme is so good at those places that sometimes I don't know if it's scheme or player talent. Like, I get worried about those two things.
Well, I mean, we got a whole nother video on Jonathan Taylor, and we won't get into that discussion. You know how I feel. But I will say another thing about J.K. Dobbins is the Ravens have one of the easiest schedules in the league this year, and I think the game script is going to be really good for the running game. And I think there's an opportunity for him to get more carries than typical. So I agree with you on that. And he does have the numbers, and he does have the opportunity. He is in the right system. And so I see all those things. I just think it's an amazing year for rookie running backs.
I do too.
They're talking about Swift looking like every bit the best running back in the league, like they projected him to be before he got drafted by Detroit. You got Cam Akers, you got Jonathan Taylor, CEH in Kansas City. It's going to be really, really fun watching this.
It's almost impossible to predict which one's going to be the better rookie. I'll tell you, Kevin, when I was going back and watching film, and I don't dive into film like you do, I'm pretty much just trying to decide who I want between 4 guys, in a rookie draft type of thing. But the eye test of J.K. Dobbins, I was like, man, this guy and his cuts, and I was like, he's the best runner out of all these guys.
Yeah,
they're different, but I was like, wow, this guy.
Well, there's a difference between the best runner and the best running back, or the best receiving back, and there's a lot of different attributes you can lay out there.
Fun to watch, man. He's got that glide, like it just seems like it always seems smooth and effortless, like he's just kind of fluid, and he's fun to watch, man. I think I think there are a lot of people sleeping on Dobbins a little bit, because you hear, CEH and Taylor, CEH Taylor, and you don't hear as much about Dobbins, and it's probably you probably should because.
Yeah, well, it's a bold take, and it's Kevin's take. He wrote a really good article. He's got the data to back it up, and I respect that. And like I said, there's going to be some people that are going to totally disagree, and you know what? That's fine. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, you know what? I like it, and I can make an argument for every single pick he's got. But I'm probably off on 2 of them. But the fact remains is he's gonna if imagine if it happens. Think about it.
Well, let me tell you this. If you go read that article, then you might just come up with the same 4.
Yeah.
Because
it's
that's
pretty impressive. I mean, there's a lot of research involved, and there's a lot of really, really smart evaluation there. And so we encourage you to look at the article, make a decision for yourself. I know it sounds really bold. It sounds like a hot take, but you know what? He has conviction in it, and you know what? I have conviction in him, and so you know what? We stand by it, even though we're going to give our 4 now.
Yeah.
And so who wants to go first? Chad, you want to do it?
I'll let you go first since you brought it up, but I just wanted to say, like, at the very least, the one thing that as I was coming up with my 4, I obviously read the article. I think when he sent it to me, I replied with eyeballs, like, oh, all right. But then, like, man, reading the article and then, like, trying to pick my 4, kept going back and being like, well, what about the quarterback situation, or what about the offensive coordinator, or like there are all these points that you are so good at hitting that I kept having to reevaluate what I was trying to do. And the thing that I'll say is that if you read that article, it will at the very least poke a lot of holes in the armor that you feel like you have around whoever, you
Right.
feel so strongly about. And that's good. That's a good thing.
Yep.
So Dave, why don't you jump in and give us yours?
Okay, mine briefly is CMC. Obviously, I think we're all going to have CMC. If we don't, then I don't think I know you as well as I thought. And I've known you for a long time. And so yeah, we're going to put a check on CMC. We're going to put a check on Saquon Barkley. Like I said, these are 4 dynasty running backs that I feel are the best 4 to take right now. And in CMC, they're still young. Barkley's still young. Zeke is still 25. I'm taking Zeke. I don't care. I love his offense. I love his skill set. I love his offensive line. I still believe that he is driven and motivated, and he's also very competitive, and he wants to be that top back. He wants the highest rating on Madden. I love that competitive spirit he has. And so he's my 3rd back. And then my 4th back is also a rookie. I am bypassing Alvin Kamara. I am bypassing Dobbins. I'm bypassing Mixon and Chubb and some of these other guys. Miles Sanders I dove deep into these guys, but I'm going Jonathan Taylor. And you guys know the reason why. We got a whole video on it. I don't think I need to go into it anymore. I believe he's the alpha athlete of the rookie running back class, and he's got the best offensive line of the rookie running back class. And I think he's gonna show out. But to the point we made earlier, Taylor, Dobbins, Akers, Swift, CEH. There's a lot of really good running backs, and it's going to be really exciting watching them all. I can't wait. But he's my guy, and so those are my 4 guys.
I'm not sure ETN where he would have landed.
I think ETN might have been one of the first ones drafted. He's
Maybe.
that good. What do you think on that, Kevin?
Well, what would you imagine if ETN would have went to the Kansas City Chiefs? Because I think they could have done that. I think that might have been a spot for him.
Put it this way. I like ETN a lot better than CEH, pure talent.
Yeah. I think ETN should have been the first running back. He should have came out of college. I don't know what he was thinking. But I think he would have been. I think he would have been the number 1 running back coming out of college.
He missed Dabo putting him to bed every night, He's afraid to miss out on his bedtime stories from Dabo.
Oh, come on, man.
You know what? Sometimes you're just not. Maybe he's just not.
He wants that
Ready
championship.
mentally.
He wants that championship. He wants to be another year with Trevor and see what happens.
I was
I'd hold out.
If he knew what was going to happen, he probably would have. Yeah, he probably would have left if he knew that the whole COVID thing was going to happen.
Oh yeah,
but
he'd be practicing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I can jump in mine real quick, and it's not going to take long because I think that's we've kind of beat up CMC and Saquon, but at number 3, Adrian Peterson.
Shut up.
Byron Leftwich is
just lost all credit. Yeah. There was the Byron Leftwich comment.
I got Zeke at 3 as well. There's just something about the floor with Zeke that makes it impossible for me to pass up on. I think Kevin makes some good points about the wear and tear. But man, he seems like he's super durable. He's going to give you that 1,500, 2,000 yards total every year, 10 to 15 touchdowns. Like, I'm building a franchise here. I'm not gonna pass on a guy that's gonna have that safe a floor for me.
He's gonna have 50 catches.
Yeah, and which is not top of the pile, but it's not bottom of the pile either. So it's gonna be enough to suffice and make sure you got solid foundation for a team you're building. And so, for me, I wouldn't be able to pass on that on the hopes of a rookie, because at the end of the day, guys, they're rookies. And we think we know what we think we know, but we don't know anything.
Well, Zeke was your number 3. Who's your 4th?
Kamara, which I know is kind of chalk, but I'm going to back it up with the same, philosophy that, for me, for all the same reasons that you like CMC at number 1 and what he can bring to the table, both running and receiving. Now, I get that Kamara's not quite the runner that CMC is, but, he's another guy that's going to get you 1,800 yards floor. has been fairly healthy except for last year. Missed a few games, but still was productive. Even last year, missing time was still productive. Can be another guy get you 8, 15, touchdowns combined. And in PPR, he's going to shine. And so, the one thing that kind of gave me a little pause, and I kind of went back and forth on a couple players here, is, Drew Brees. He's going to be gone, and what does that mean for him for long term? And I feel like the one safe zone of having a player like a CMC or a Kamara is that if CMC can put up a historic season with Kyle Allen, at quarterback, is it going to really matter if
sometimes it
crab legs or Taysom Hill is picking up the ball when Drew Brees leaves? Like, I mean, so I feel better about that situation, that it could even help him. He might even get more passing opportunities.
Well, yeah, and you're talking about now the one that really might suffer is Michael Thomas.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I would rather have Kamara. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So when I weigh all that out,
even young quarterbacks, they tend to hit that big receiver over and over and over again, like Allen Robinson in Chicago.
Yeah. So that's my 4.
Yeah, that's as chalky as it gets there, Chad.
Hey, yeah,
but on a limb.
When you're talking about Mount Rushmore, you can't
right.
talk about on a limb.
You know what? I had those 4, and then I decided I got to go with my boy. I've been on him all.
I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see. There you go.
CMC, Barkley, Zeke, and
Taylor.
Yeah.
He's in there.
It won't focus, but anyway.
That's my brother from another mother.
I might be but I ain't trying to put, Woodrow Wilson on Mount Rushmore. So,
Woodrow.
Wilson.
So for me, Dave, you probably had a feeling that we were going to go to the same place on this. We're pretty passionate about Taylor. Of course, CMC and Barkley are our top 2. And Zeke is the oldest of the group. On my Mount Rushmore. So I got to thinking, so the caveat that Kevin put out here was somebody that you have to have for the next 3 years, or build your team around for the next 3 years. It does make me nervous on some of these guys being 28 years old in the end of this Mount Rushmore game we're playing, I guess. But Zeke, I too am a Cowboys fan. I'm a Titans and a Cowboys fan. Grew up a Cowboys fan before we had the Titans, but Zeke has been so good. It's just, and he's got a great offensive line. I love the Cowboys. So for me, he's my number 3 pick in any dynasty or any draft whatsoever this year. Hands down. I'm not taking Kamara over him. Although I love Kamara too, but it's Zeke. And then Jonathan Taylor, guys, I am just sold that this guy is, I just think he's head and shoulders above the rest of them personally.
Prove it.
He's a monster, and he's playing behind one of the best offensive lines too.
He's actually faster than Barkley and Zeke, and he's the same size, and his measurables are silly, and so yeah.
Speaking of measurables, okay, so just real quick on Taylor, and like Dave said, we got a whole video on it, and you should go watch it if you're interested. Barkley, so Barkley's measurables, okay, so the average of the top 12, 40-yard dash, the average 71 percentile. Speed score average is 73.83 percentile. Average burst score, which is really important, we think, for running backs, 69.63 percentile. That's the average of the top 12 running backs from last year. Listen to Barkley's 40-yard dash, 97th percentile. Speed score, 99th percentile. Burst score, 96th percentile. And we're talking about Jonathan Taylor being faster than that guy. And, dude, he's huge. So, anyway, that's my argument. Not a real deep one, but Dave did a really good job breaking down Taylor for us. So, that's my 4.
Cool.
So obviously all of us have the top 2, and then we got a little bit of – most of us have Zeke. He has Mixon, and then he has Dobbins, and we have Taylor and Kamara. You know what? I don't think you can go wrong. I think they're all really good players. They all have – especially I think Dobbins has a bright future. I think Taylor has a bright future. It's preference at this point. You can look at scheme and look at all those things. But anyway, the whole point is to get you thinking about it and think beyond the headlines. Go to the story. Kevin put a lot of time into it, and it's just so impressive. We really harp on. I know we said it a bunch, but harp on it. Go read the story, and while you're there, look at the quarterbacks, the Mount Rushmore quarterbacks, and see his rationale on that, and the deep dive he did on that too. It's pretty cool.
So while you're there, guys, you'll see it when you go over to HammerCast.com. And that's HammerCast.com. It's easy, just like it's spelled on our logo there. But we have our August giveaways. All you have to do is, if you're watching this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then subscribe and join the Hammer Nation on HammerCast.com.
The email.
Yep. The email subscription. It's easy. The giveaways are awesome for August. You get to choose if you win. It's cool.
Yeah, we just, you just mailed out a Camara jersey signed today. And
we just sent that out. Yeah.
To a listener, and then if you're lucky to win the August giveaway, you get to choose between 3 awesome options. So I've shared that tweet today. It's real easy to do.
Tell them, Chad. What is it?
Yeah. What are the options?
Oh, so we got a Devontae Adams mini helmet, which is signed and authenticated. It's a really nice piece. We've got a Allen Robinson signed jersey authenticated. They're all authenticated. And then a
Galladay.
Galladay, yeah. Detroit Lions Galladay signed and authenticated. So, if you win, you get to choose whichever 3 you want. It's one thing that we're kind of proud of is like we love that you guys are enjoying what we're putting out there, and we hope that in return you can sign up to subscribe and join the Hammer Nation, and we'll reward you with some cool gifts along the way.
Yeah,
cool. Hey, before we leave, Kevin. By the way, we just wrapped up our HammerCast League staff league Devy draft.
Yeah.
And Kevin is all about Devy. Go read his articles. He'll blow your mind. He's the only person I know that can write 20,000 words on tight ends. And so it's crazy. Or the MWC conference. But anyway, Kevin, I know it's too early. I know you haven't officially graded all of our picks in the Devy draft. Now, obviously, the Devy league that we're in, we draft the veterans first with the rookies, and then when we're done, we do a 10-round draft of the college players. Kevin, what's your initial thoughts? Some surprises, some dead duds. What are you thinking about? How do we do? It's a lot of our guys' first time.
Yeah,
it was my first time.
I wanted to go over like a biggest surprise, and I was going to pick the 4 best guys. I kind of like what you guys drafted, like kind of where they were at or who they are. So the biggest surprise for me was Justin Fields went all the way at 1.08. So they were the 8th pick in the first round.
Before me.
Yeah. So, that was a drop, and I've never seen that, but it was a weird draft. I think people drafted based on their team needs in the NFL. So most of those teams, like I had 3 quarterbacks already. I didn't need Justin Fields. So I was kind of like, I passed on him twice. So he may make me look stupid, but I thought that was a big one. My favorite pick in the first round, besides myself, since I did so well, it was Hammer Condas. You drafted Jalen Waddle. I like Waddle a lot. Like I really actually consider taking Waddle over Moore, just because I kind of think Waddle might actually he might sneak his way in there. If they have a season, I think he might sneak his way in there as like kind of like how Henry Ruggs did this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that speed. He's athletic. He's going to have less target because Judy and Ruggs are gone, so he's going to have more targets, less competition in Alabama. So Waddle's going to be a hell of a wide receiver. A lot of guys are getting on his train right now.
Him and Devontae Smith are going to be a really good pair.
Yeah, I wanted Devontae Smith to fall. I was going to take both of them between him and in the second round.
Yeah,
anyway.
So I like that a lot. Chad drafted Spencer Rattler with the 3rd pick in the second round, and that's pretty late for what I've seen. But quarterbacks in our league apparently don't matter. So when I was going,
I needed one though, man. I was like, I had to get one. And
hey, I drafted a quarterback in the first round for the first time in my life.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
So
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, and that's a good pick. I mean, I probably maybe would have gone Keaton Slovis from USC, but that's just because I'm a Keaton Slovis fanboy. But
Yeah, that was the two choices, right? I just looked at recent history with Oklahoma and quarterbacks, and I just felt like, man, if he is as good as they say he is, because they say he's the best of anybody that's been through there out of that group, and I was like, man, you put him with Lincoln Riley, I was like, that was the difference maker for me, and I went that route.
Yep.
I mean, he threw over 10,000 yards in Arizona, 2 years ago. In his career, so he can throw.
Good pick, Chad.
And he's not. What's going to be interesting about Spencer? He's not really a dual threat. He just throws. He's actually a pocket quarterback at 6 foot, maybe 6 foot. I don't know. They list him at 6 foot, so it'll be interesting to see how he translates. But and then I really liked what HammerJacks did in the 4th round. He grabbed my guy Diami Brown from North Carolina. I really wanted him to. I wanted him to drop to me, but I didn't think he'd make it. So
I traded up to get him.
Yeah, I mean, he went in the 4th round. He was going. I think I got him in like the 7th round a couple weeks ago in a draft. So he's starting to creep up. People are starting to realizing that Brown's actually a pretty good little receiver from North Carolina.
Either that or they're reading your article.
Who's got the North Carolina quarterback that's going to be throwing to him all the time?
So he got drafted. He got drafted right after Spencer Rattler, actually. So Chad could have took him too.
Who took him?
Yeah, you did. I know you guys.
Oh,
So,
hey, who told you to take him though?
Mr. Sledgehammer.
Right, because I was looking at that one too.
That's pretty good, actually. Having Waddle and him as your first 2 picks, because Hal's been going in the 1st round a lot of drafts. So that's actually you basically got 2 first rounders in your first 2 picks.
Chad hooked me up on the Hal.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think I got some good value. I liked what I like that St. Brown fell to me at 209. I like him. I mean, he was going early in the 1st round when we first started in February, March. A lot of the mocks I saw. I know people get worried about his athleticism, and that's fair, but I think getting him in the end of the 2nd round was good for me. I thought everybody did pretty well. Sam Ellinger, our boy Jax Kamish, grabbed him in the 3rd round. I don't know about that. He might think he's like the next Joe Burrow. I don't really see it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Max Borghi, so I'm really glad that Jacob Grider grabbed him because I can't wait till he doesn't make the league so I can give him crap.
Jake.
And then he drafted Kendall Milton right before Zamir Wright. So I would have rather had White instead of Kendall Milton. White, they call him Zeus. He actually could squat like 600 pounds, a small little running back, and he's a beast. He's had some ACL problems, but he's really good.
Well, you know what's weird is I took him because he took Kendall Milton, and I'm sitting there thinking every Devy draft I've looked at since we started doing this had White, Zamir going before Milton. I think they're both really good, but I just wanted the guy that was the most NFL ready because I was going to take young guys later.
Yeah. No, I mean, everybody did pretty good. I really liked it. Nobody really reached. Some people reached on quarterback, like Kyle Trask going in the 6th round. I don't know if that. I mean, people believe in Kyle Trask. You might believe in him. They're HammerJacks. I don't know. I know you.
I don't know anything about him.
But KJ Costello from Mississippi State. I'm not a big fan of his, but he went in the 7th. I think the college thing's a big deal right now because if we don't have a college season, a lot of those senior quarterbacks or those ones that maybe needed a breakout year, they're going to be done. So I was going to mention this too. Like I'm in the middle of a campus to Canton league. So I'm like on round 35 of college. So we picked 45 rounds of college players. A lot of guys.
Defensive players, or is it all offensive players?
No, it's all offense. So you got 45 rounds, all offense, and then we're actually adding recruiting. It's a giant league. A bunch of the guys, main guys.
That's amazing.
But when you think of it, there's over 100 teams, and so you got.
Well, it actually ended up being easier for me than I thought. So I thought going into this thing, oh my gosh, 10 rounds. How am I going to know anybody?
A lot of college players out there, man.
Hey, I know. I loved it.
You know what's fascinating? On one of our other shows, we talked about Kevin actually mentioned that last year, because he really never did anything in his career, Joe Burrow was available in a lot of Devy drafts.
Yeah.
And every year there's a bunch of surprise guys that just come out of nowhere, and That's why you want to have those Devy draft picks, because
Yeah.
there is no more rookie drafts from this league. It's all Devy draft picks. And so you got to take it a little bit more seriously than we do rookie picks, because, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And if you guys, Kevin, I think you were right in the middle of saying something, but I just wanted to say this. Guys, if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube, I think most fantasy football players have not gotten into the Devy fully yet. Trust me, guys. I've been playing fantasy football for 25 years or something like that, and this was my first Devy draft, and I was nervous about going into it. And I thought, man, I'm in a lot of leagues. I don't know if I have the energy to put into a Devy draft when I don't know these guys. I was nervous about it. Do a Devy league, guys.
So much fun.
It's awesome. And here's what I love the most about it, is that for the same reason I love fantasy football, besides the competition, the part that I'm interested in almost every game that's going around the league where I normally wouldn't have been if I wasn't in a fantasy football league. It's going to be the same way for the college football Saturdays. Where
now you're interested in Baylor versus
I know. Well, you know what? Whenever I click on ESPN, all these years I've been pissed off that I don't give a flip about who's on the ESPN game, right? Because it's never my team, for example, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be like, all right, I got something to watch until my game comes on, because I'm interested in that North Carolina quarterback or whatever.
Yeah.
right.
Well, I'll tell you, man, like I will go ahead and call it right now. This will be my favorite version of fantasy football moving forward. Like,
It will be mine too.
You know, I've always been a guy that I like college football probably better than NFL. I just do. I just like the pageantry and the you know, amateurism of college football. But it's just like, it's kind of a different thing. And like growing up in the South, especially, it's, you know, it's a huge deal. And so like I've always loved college football, and this gives me that opportunity, like you said, Kenneth, to flip on the late night West Coast game, you know, that's usually only good for making up the bets you lost earlier in the day. But you know, I'm gonna want to watch a Hawaii versus Fresno State now and be like trying to follow some dudes. So like, yeah, I'm in, man. I had a blast.
How much we get into this. If we're in a league with Kevin, we're gonna lose.
Well, you know, eventually, you know, we'll join some leagues and he'll just be our consultant.
Yeah, I can't.
Well, here's the beauty.
I can't do a lot more leagues. My wife's gonna kill me if I join.
I think we're all in that boat.
Hey, well, I'm not, but but here's the beauty of this Devy league, guys. It's a combo. It's not just college. So you draft your regular fantasy football team. So, you know, if you had one league to choose, one format, do the Devy league, because you get both.
It's a dynasty league that you get to take college players and hold them.
Yes. Yeah. Dynasty league. You got your college players. You hold them until they become NFL
you can trade
players.
them.
You can trade those guys. There's a free agency for that.
Hey Kevin, can we trade right now college players for pro players?
Yeah, you could do that. So like we had a trade go down in the Devy League 3. I'm going to write about it. So Terry McLaurin from the Redskins, he got traded for Keaton Slovis, and I believe it was Tamari and Terry. So he got traded for 2 college guys. And so one team is kind of building a young team, and then the other one's trying to build like a contender a little bit. So
many options.
That's cool.
And it's cool because you can kind of do that. And like the Hammerjack was talking about, you know, when we were going over it last year, my big Devy league that I'm in, I've been doing it for a while. Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Justin Jefferson, all 3 of those guys, they got drafted in the rookie draft because no one picked them over 120 picks in the Devy draft. No one picked those guys because they were so low on the totem pole. And, you know, it was crazy. I mean, one of my first leagues this year in February, Trey Lance didn't even get picked. So this guy that's going down the first 2 rounds wasn't even getting picked 4 months ago. So there's a lot of variance that you can do. And I think this is really good for those entry-level guys. And if you really like it, Campus to Canton is that next league. That's where you have the 45 rounds, and you actually manage a college team and an NFL team. So you can win on both levels. And
you got to think about that, guys.
So that's like a big fantasy one, and that's one of those ones that, like, it takes a lot of work, but like you're drafting like Hawaii's wide receivers in the 44th round because you know that they put up a lot of points. And then, like, you know, you're doing it, and then that actually that's a lot of fun, but you learn a lot about guys, and it helps you as a fantasy player because you learn these dudes and you know who they are before February and March.
So that's what a C2C is.
Yeah.
Because I see C2C, and I didn't realize it was campus to Canton.
Yeah, so basically you're taking that team and you're trying to mold them. And then you can do it both ways. You could just try to win college and draft all the dudes that play at Memphis and play at Hawaii and all those places. Or you can just, okay, I want to build like a farm system for my NFL teams and go. So it just has a lot more strategy involved.
Yeah.
By the way, do we change Memphis to RBU? Are they running back U now?
I don't know, man. They put out a lot of talent.
I mean,
Huge-
Tony
Huge
Pollard.
turnaround the last
so many
like 8 years for that program. Like, just amazing.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you want to learn more about Devy Leagues, you can find Kevin at HammerCast.com. You can find him on Twitter at DaBoys. That's DABOYS_22. And he'll fill you in. You're going to learn a lot by reading those articles and watching some of these videos. And I can't wait for this thing to start. I've got a couple more drafts coming up pretty soon. We've got the Fine Swine League, Dave's league. At some point, we're going to get squared away. And then we've got Chad's that he's been the commissioner of. This is our 20th year, I believe.
Yeah, 20th anniversary.
And so that's pretty cool. And I think maybe, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 or maybe 7 even of the players in our league are all charter members of that 20-year league. It's really neat. Maybe we'll touch on those things. What a fun time, guys.
Yeah.
It's a great time of year. I know it's been stressful and not knowing the COVID stuff, and there's still some risk there, but I think it's going to happen, and I can't wait. David, do you have any thoughts here? Anything else you want to cover tonight?
No, I just want everybody to once again, just please support us, like the page, like, subscribe, share on Twitter. We work really hard. We have real jobs, and we do this for the passion. You know, we're not in this for the money or anything, but we do like a little bit of appreciation for what we do. We do grind pretty hard. And I think it shows in our work, but just like, subscribe, share every now and then. We'd appreciate that. It means a lot.
Cool. Well said. Well, guys, Chad, if you guys have anything you'd like to say, now's the time. Chad, why don't you drop that sledgehammer for us?
Oh yeah, was that what we need? We need
We need the sledgehammer.
Close us out with the sledge.
Wait. Who's your favorite pick?
My favorite pick of what?
Of the Devy, and drop the hammer on that.
Of course. I moved up to get my guy, Auburn running back, the tank Bigsby.
I love it when he does that.
I can't wait to see what that kid does. It was one of those good things that I just had to get him, had to have him. So, yeah,
it's awesome.
Well, good deal. Well, hey guys, thanks a lot.
Yep.
We'll
had a good one, Kevin. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. We'll catch you next time, guys. Until next time, keep grinding. Boom. Out.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to HammerCast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.